But first, tonight, as the recession continues to bite, racist attacks are unfortunately not uncommon in Ireland, but few are worse than the story you're about to hear from Pakistani national Rashid Khan.
Rashid Khan came to Ireland 3 years ago in search of a new life. An asylum seeker from Pakistan, he'd escaped a life of torture back home and fled to Ireland hoping to leave his bad memories behind.
His trauma is every day.
Cardiac arrest.
Voter come out
every day and on, and I'm
at Mosney.
translators, the whole.
Would you want
On a Jew by Bettystown beach in County Meath. What would happen there will haunt him for the rest of his days.
I came on the beach, and I parked the car next to the sea, and I came out. I saw the wheels are stuck, and I saw that even the water is uprising as well, same time.
Rashid had parked his car too close to the water, and now the tide was sucking it out to sea. He tried in vain to push the vehicle back to land, but it wasn't working. So he ran off to recruit the help of a local campsite owner, John. By the time they returned, the car was fully submerged. In a last-ditch effort to retrieve the car, Rashid tied a rope around his waist and dived into the sea, while John held the other end from the beach.
And inside the water, when I
the workforce
there, a little bit more deeper. So he pulled me up. He said, I cannot come any more further. We need to attach more rope. While we are sorting the rope, and I put the rope, and this rope which was attached with my waist, and other end was free on the surface.
Unbeknownst to Rashid, a group of 4 men had been watching the incident from a nearby car, and one of them decided he was going to turn a bad day into a nightmare.
So the guy was coming from the other side with their car, and it was just going like this, and they stopped the car nearly 10 meters, and he comes out, and he take the rope, end of the rope, and he put it in the car, and he shut the door, and next thing he just pressed the accelerator.
In a twisted, sick joke, the 4 men pulled Rashid hundreds of meters across the beach, all the while laughing
now all of a sudden
back window as he begged them to stop.
I tried to manage to run, as much as I can, but it is not humanly possible. You can run 70 miles or 50 miles per hour. And then I said, I give up, I'm gone. And then I fly, real fly, and I fall bang on the floor, and he dragged me nearly 50 or 60 meters, or 100 meters, I don't know, because I was out of conscious anyway.
After dropping the rope, the thugs fled the scene, leaving Rashid for dead. He had lost consciousness and soon went into cardiac arrest.
They give me a normal CVR, and the doctor say he's gone. The sand and water come out from my mouth, and I realized I came back. I can see the sharp white lights of sun, and I realized I am still living.
Rashid would recover to tell his story, but the memory of his brutal assault has left him physically scarred and sleepless at night.
Well, Rashid joins us now in studio along with Ted Neville from the Immigration Control Platform and one of our new Irish, Patrick Maposo, who's a community activist. Rashid, how are you now? That was 3 months ago when that attack occurred. Right, yeah. Physically, you seem okay. Mentally, how are you?
Mentally, scar take a little bit longer than the physical. And that's the course when it's happened, and I was thinking that I'm a very brave person, if the people are around you like brothers and sisters and mothers, they're pampering you, give you this chance to recover very fast. Mm-hmm. Like I'm my own, and where I live there's a small apartment, and you have to live with the suffering every day, and living memories, and that's indescribable words. I don't have a word to describe. And this trauma is every day, daily life. I'm living with it.
To go back to the day itself, all the people who were standing around when that happened, dozens of them.
Yeah.
And why they didn't come to your aid or why they didn't stop?
They might be thought that these people while they were, as a bystander, they were standing next to me, and other people were making the movie as well, same time on the camera, and they
were videoing this in the car. Someone in the car was filming you as you ran behind and they were dragged behind.
That's right. They were asking me before I was put the rope here on my waist, and I want to go inside and dive inside the water. Nearly 8 meters in the depth, in order to get the attach the rope with the car to, from the pull out by the tractor. But they were asking me stupid questions. They will look like a tremendous amount of glands in their eyes. That looks like to me there was some substance of influence of understanding. I don't know. I cannot name it, but there was something amazingly, high on something.
Okay, Patrick, you yourself have been the victim of racial abuse in this country, because I know when you were out canvassing, when you were running in North County Dublin, you were mic'd up, and the things that people were saying to you, what were they saying to you exactly?
Oh, a lot of things. Some of them that I'm a nigger, I have to go back home. Some of them that I don't belong and I'm not one of them, but that doesn't represent the majority of the Irish anyway, just to be specific.
Yep.
The majority will be civilized, will be understanding, and wouldn't have a problem with immigrants whatsoever. It's only the tiny minority that has a problem. Now, racist attacks are happening every day in Ireland. I'm very sorry to hear that, but someone will think that will happen only in South Africa, because I know it happened in my own country. But it's happening in Ireland as well. That someone can be dragged like that, by a car. It happens a lot of times in South Africa, but then it's amazing if it's happening in a so-called first world country. We will assume that people are more civilized and they wouldn't be doing those kind of things, in Ireland. But it is happening, and it's not only, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a professor at one of the universities in Ireland that was attacked, and he was tormented every day by a group of thugs, and he's from the EU. He's from the EU. He's from Romania, and he's a professor at one of the universities. Wow. And he was just attacked several times. Him and his colleague from Kosovo, several times, just because they are not Irish. Okay. So these things are happening every day in Ireland, but of course it doesn't represent, the majority of the people.
Okay, Ted, let's bring you in here. The immigration control platform. Do you believe Rashid shouldn't be in the country in the first place?
I find it confusing that a person who has difficulties in his own country in Pakistan, which is in the continent of Asia, should automatically, as many seem to do, find themselves in Ireland, which is on the other side of the world. And I think a lot of Irish people...
precisely why? Because he had difficulties.
Well,
that's why he came here to seek asylum.
He did indeed. And I think the question was for me.
Just Patrick, just let him finish, sir.
I think people are generally confused as to why Ireland has become the destination for people with troubles abroad. And certainly there are many countries that have difficulties within themselves because of their ethnic mix or whatever. Now, there are a lot of safe countries between Nigeria and Ireland, between Pakistan and Ireland, between China and Ireland. And I think people in Ireland are looking at the situation whereby Ireland is the destination of choice for asylum, because we appear, first of all, never to have discussed it at our national parliament as to how we deal with it. And secondly, I think we take perhaps what people view a very soft approach to it. Now, why Rashid, if he came here to seek asylum, should still be here 3 years after making his appeal, I find it difficult to understand why, first of all, the government has not come to a conclusion after 3 years as to whether he is...
but it can take up, we know it can take up to 5 years.
And it is hugely ineffective, and I think it's an indication of government's ineffectiveness.
But that's a separate... I've no doubt people like Rashid who are in that position where they don't have refugee status and are asylum seekers, they'd all tell you, we want to work, we don't want to be in Malsney, we don't want to have nothing to do all day long.
Well, you see, Ireland is not, Ireland is not an industrial estate for everybody in the world to come to work. We don't have enough jobs for our own people at the moment.
Sorry, Patrick, jump in there.
I just want to come in there quickly. Excuse me, Ted, what about your people that are all over the world, in America? There are some of your people in South Africa, some of your people working in the oil industry in Nigeria. What about that?
I'm not afflicted by the guilt complex.
So that means you want a privileged in other countries.
No,
meanwhile, you don't want to welcome immigrants here. What do you mean?
I didn't say so. You're putting words in my mouth that I never spoke. First of all, a lot of Irish...
You actually don't want immigrants in Ireland.
I'd love to speak as I would like.
There's 50,000, even more than 50,000 of your people in the United States of America that are there illegally.
Yeah, Patrick is referring to the undocumented Irish, and we know that there are politicians
that are in the United States,
and the States
in America,
looking for them to to get legitimate
I
status
don't call
over
them
there.
undocumented, I call them illegal immigrants, quite simply. And if we in Ireland, when we saw the first flush of economic boom in the mid-1990s, were a mature country, the first thing we would have done is we would have tried to encourage those people back home with proper incentives to feed our labour requirements.
That's a separate argument.
That is, but that's the point I make. I think we would see that every country in the world has the right to treat people who come illegally into their own countries as they deem appropriate. Now, it certainly was the case that Ireland produced more people than it could ever know what to do with in the past, in the 50s and 60s, and it was an immature way to deal, to run a society that you exported your people.
Okay,
but it's not a guilt complex, it's not a quid pro quo that because we went abroad we take everybody from the rest of the world.
Okay, we're getting off the point here, Ted. Just on a very human level, are you uncomfortable sitting there between a black man and a Pakistani man?
No.
At all?
No.
Because some people might say you're a racist, that you have problem with foreigners living in the country.
Yeah, nobody has ever said that word to me, actually, no.
No, but some people might say that.
No,
I mean,
they never did, no.
Well, I'm suggesting that some people... Well,
I will say that.
Okay, so you think Ted is a
What will you say,
racist?
Patrick?
Please, I'll say that you're a racist straight away.
As long as it's recorded, I don't mind you calling me that, and you understand the consequences of libeling somebody on a public national television station, okay?
That's what I'm saying you. I'm
Right,
telling
okay,
you that
well, it's
you're
clear.
a racist.
We have the film, that's
Okay,
fine.
all right.
It's good to hear.
Okay.
That's it, yeah. I'm telling you now.
So why do you want to control the numbers of people like Patrick and like Rashid coming into the country?
Because Ireland is a sovereign country, we are the product of generations of Irish people. We have our own society. Everybody likes the comfort of associating in their own country where they have their own traditions, their own culture, their own language. A country where you have a complete mush of cultures, as Ireland will develop into, will not be a society. It will not be a cohesive society. It will be fragmented. It will be disjointed.
But Ted, who are you speaking for? I know you ran in the last two elections and you got like less than 2% of the vote. And who are you speaking for?
I was the highest polling independent in the whole of Munster.
Throughout the country, you got less than 2%.
2% of the whole country isn't bad.
If I may come in there.
No,
doesn't matter.
The point is it's impossible to have a debate leading up to an election on the subject of immigration for this one very simple reason. The politicians take a vow of silence. They say they will not discuss asylum, immigration or racism. Therefore, the media call it off. There is no debate on the subject. If there were a debate on the subject, as there would be in any other politically mature country, we could put the arguments that we're putting out, and you wouldn't then come on a show like this and have a chap on your left from another part of the world call me a racist for wanting to explain in Ireland why it's not particularly a good idea
but you do want to control the numbers of foreigners coming into the country.
Hold on one second. Was it not a good idea when I was invited to come and work here? Do you know that I'm legal in your country?
You may well be. Now, I don't think...
I'm legal in your country. I'm even better than thousands of your own people that entered other countries illegally.
The point is...
You understand? I'm legal in the country, a taxpayer in your own country, and you've got a problem with me. And meanwhile, your government is actually advocating and actually, lobbying the United States of America to actually...
All right, hang on one second.
From your pocket,
Rashid, hang on one second. Yeah. Ted, answer the question.
The very first thing an immigrant does when he works in a country is he contributes to his own well-being. That is the prime motivation, and there's nothing at all wrong with that. So to portray it as a kind of a philanthropic thing that Patrick has come here to help out Ireland is not really the situation, and he's quite entitled to help and work for himself. Now, we at this point in time...
I'm helping out Ireland, what do you think?
We at this point in time have 330,000 people unemployed in the country, and at the same time we are supporting 100,000 foreigners in our country doing absolutely nothing. Now, that is no way to run a society. The purpose of Ireland as a country, as a society, is to provide sustainable economic employment and activity for all its citizens.
Patrick, isn't that a legitimate point?
No, that's 100,000.
1 second, just let me finish.
Yeah.
The phrase "what a difference a recession makes" come to mind. We have more than 400,000 people drawing the dole in this country now. Isn't there an onus on the government in this country to look after ourselves first and foremost before we try and help other people from other countries?
Okay, I understand. But what about people that were invited to come and work legally in your country that contributed towards the country's economy? Those people are not toilet papers. They can't just be thrown away in the bin.
But
now let's talk about the Polish, because you were talking about foreigners, okay? Let's talk about...
Patrick, just on a very fundamental human level, and I know tensions have risen over the last 12 months because of the situation we're in this country, but for someone who's lost their job and they see hundreds of thousands of foreigners in the country and they're thinking, hang on a second, I can't get a job myself and I've been living here and my parents before me and 3 and 4 generations before that. Yeah. Why should we be helping out other people from other countries?
Yeah, but listen, the jobs that are done by immigrants were the jobs that were done by immigrants before the recession. You understand? We were always doing the dirty, unwanted jobs in Ireland. That's what we were doing. Now, all of a sudden, to say that, listen, quit your jobs and we will do it. And you definitely know that, unfortunately, most Irish people wouldn't be ready to do some of the jobs. They're not prepared to do it because if they're on a minimum wage, it's the same amount of money they will get on the dole. Now, of course, it's very sad that the situation, you know,
well,
the
we've lots of foreign
recession.
nationals on the dole now as well, in fairness.
Yeah, we have.
Less than 2% of the workforce here are foreign immigrants. It's not really an argument to say that they're taking our jobs. Less than 2% of the workforce.
Less than 2%.
Yes, they're the most recent statistics of the workforce. So it's not really a legitimate argument to say that they're a threat to Irish jobs.
Well, it exposes another very big gap, because if 15% of the population is foreign nationals and only 2% are in the workforce, we are supporting a hell of a lot of foreign nationals who are doing absolutely nothing here, which is the argument that Patrick would like to put forward, that they're all here to help us out of the mire. Now, the reality is, this country, its first duty is to sustain its own people working in employment. Now, we have always advocated that all the largesse and money that is expended on the immigration industry in this country, hundreds of millions every year, would be far better spent contributing to our overseas aid budget, where it would really help people abroad in a hundredfold sense, rather than the money that is spent here. And I would like to see our overseas aid budget to South Africa, to Pakistan, to Afghanistan, to everywhere, used from the money that is squandered in this country, going to lawyers, rental property owners, translators, the whole shebang, which has grown up.
Pakistan should be the country. Pakistan is the only country who is saving the whole world. You know that. We are holding the old Taliban, the old terrorists, only for secure for your. You can have your whiskey and you can have a sniff your cocaine every night, and we are securing your nights and days.
Hang on, we're completely way over. Time is beating us on this subject. We're clearly not going to resolve it on this programme. We'll have to come back to it again. So thanks indeed to Patrick, to Ted and to Rashid for coming into us today. Still to come, it's been called the Irish Holocaust, the Commission into Child Abuse report. But 4 months later, what's changed? And after the break, would you want members of the travelling community moving in near you? If the answer is no, does that mean you're a racist?